Imagine this: a vast marble hall illuminated by the soft glow of oil lamps. Shelves upon shelves stretch endlessly, filled with scrolls that whisper secrets of the cosmos, the nature of the soul, and the lost sciences of forgotten civilizations. The air hums with sacred knowledge: philosophy, mathematics, medicine, astrology, and the mysteries of the divine. And then, silence, flames, the sound of centuries being devoured by fire. They called it the Library of Alexandria, the greatest repository of human wisdom ever assembled, and one of the most tragic losses in our collective history. But what if the library wasn't just destroyed by accident? What if it was erased, deliberately? You see, the Library of Alexandria was more than a building. It was a bridge, a link between the known and the unknown, between mortal understanding and divine intelligence. It held works from Egypt, Greece, Persia, India, and even lost civilizations whose names we no longer remember. Some say it contained texts describing the hidden structure of reality itself, the harmony between spirit and matter, the origin of consciousness, and the true power of the human mind. So the question is, was the destruction of the library merely a tragic result of war, or was it the silencing of something far greater, a truth humanity was not yet ready to hold? In this journey, we will uncover not just the historical story of how the library fell, but the esoteric one, why it had to. We'll explore the deeper symbolism behind its burning, the hidden forces that sought to control or conceal ancient wisdom, and how echoes of its knowledge still survive in secret traditions and mystical teachings today. Because the Library of Alexandria may have been destroyed, but its flame, the light of forbidden wisdom, still burns in those who seek truth beyond the veil. To understand why the Library of Alexandria was destroyed, we must first understand what it truly was. Not just a structure of stone and scrolls, but a manifestation of an ancient ideal, the pursuit of divine knowledge. Founded around 300 BCE under the rule of Ptolemy IV Soter, one of Alexander the Great's successors, the library was built in the city that bore his name, Alexandria, a shining beacon of civilization that stood at the crossroads of the ancient world. Within its walls, scholars from Egypt, Greece, India, Babylon, and beyond gathered to study the mysteries of creation. It was said that every ship that entered Alexandria's port was searched for scrolls, each text copied for the library before being returned. Knowledge, they believed, belonged not to any one people, but to all of humanity. But there's a deeper layer to this story, one few historians dare to discuss. The library wasn't merely a center for learning, it was a spiritual experiment. Behind its marble halls and scholarly debates lay a hidden mission: to unify all streams of wisdom into a single universal understanding, the Philosophia Perennis, the eternal philosophy. The priests of Egypt, the mathematicians of Greece, the mystics of Persia, they all spoke in different languages, but sought the same truth, the secret harmony that binds all things together. The library was, in essence, a temple of illumination, a place where science and spirituality were one. It housed not just treatises on geometry and astronomy, but writings on alchemy, sacred sound, metaphysics, and the nature of the soul. According to some esoteric traditions, the library's inner sanctum, known only to a few, held the Scroll of Thoth, an ancient Egyptian text said to reveal the structure of the universe and the divine laws governing transformation. But power like that, knowledge capable of liberating the mind, has always threatened empires. Because true knowledge cannot be controlled, it cannot be taxed, manipulated, or confined to a throne. And so, the library became both a beacon of light and a target of darkness. Throughout history, knowledge has often walked hand in hand with danger. The moment a civilization begins to approach enlightenment, the forces of ignorance, fear, greed, dogma, rise to suppress it. The library's destruction, therefore, was not just the burning of scrolls, but the attempted extinguishing of a spiritual revolution. Some say it was lost to fire, Others claim it was slowly dismantled by those who feared its power. But one thing is certain. What burned in Alexandria was not only paper and ink, it was humanity's connection to its own divine potential. The destruction of the Library of Alexandria has been told many times, yet every retelling leaves shadows where light should be. Historians debate who struck the final blow: Julius Caesar's army, the Christians, the Muslims. But beneath these surface explanations lies something deeper, more symbolic, and far more unsettling. The library's demise was not just an event, it was a message. Let us begin with the first fire. In 48 BCE, during the civil war between Julius Caesar and Pompey, Alexandria became a battlefield. Caesar ordered the burning of enemy ships in the harbor, a fire that, according to ancient accounts, spread to the docks and nearby warehouses. Some claim the flames reached the library itself. Thousands of scrolls, the lifeblood of the world's knowledge, were consumed. But was it truly an accident, or a convenient opportunity? You see, the library was more than an archive. It was a weapon of enlightenment. Its scrolls revealed technologies, philosophies, and spiritual systems that could liberate humanity from the control of kings and priests. And for those who sought dominion over men's minds, that was the greatest threat imaginable. Centuries later, the library's remnants, the Serapeum, its sacred daughter library, became the next target. This was no mere building. It was a temple to Serapis, a deity symbolizing the fusion of divine wisdom and human understanding. Inside, initiates studied astrology, metaphysics, and the Hermetic sciences, teachings that declared every human being a microcosm of the divine. Then came the rise of religious orthodoxy. As dogma tightened its grip over the ancient world, tolerance for other forms of truth withered. The Serapeum was declared heretical, an affront to the new order. In 391 CE, under orders from Emperor Theodosius, Christian mobs stormed the temple. They smashed its statues, tore its scrolls, and burned what remained. The priests were slain or silenced. It was not merely an act of zeal, it was the ritual death of ancient wisdom. The old world, with its open exploration of spirit and science, was being buried under a new age of control. But there's more. Some say the final blow came centuries later, during the Muslim conquest of Egypt. According to certain sources, the Caliph Omar declared, "If these writings of the Greeks agree with the Book of God, they are useless and need not be preserved. If they disagree, they are heresy and must be destroyed." And so, the remaining scrolls were said to have been burned in the city's bathhouses, their ashes carried away with the steam of water, once meant for purification. Whether this story is literal or symbolic, its essence remains the same. Every empire, in its own way, sought to erase what could not be controlled. But the truth is, the library was never just in Alexandria. It existed within consciousness itself. Every time humanity forgets, it is burned again. Every time we awaken, it is rebuilt. One seeker, one revelation, one spark of remembrance at a time. The burning of the Library of Alexandria was not only a tragedy of history, it was a cosmic allegory, a mirror reflecting something that is repeated countless times across the ages: the war between the light of consciousness and the shadows of control. When fire consumed the library, something more than parchment turned to ash. It was a symbol of humanity's internal fire, the light of gnosis, the divine spark of understanding, being buried under fear, dogma, and conformity. In ancient Hermetic philosophy, which itself traces back to the wisdom schools of Egypt, fire is not merely destructive, it is transformative. The flames that devoured Alexandria also purified humanity's relationship with knowledge. They forced the sacred truths once confined to temples and scrolls to be reborn, hidden, encoded, whispered through secret initiations and mystical symbols. And here lies one of the greatest secrets. The Library of Alexandria was never truly destroyed. Its essence, the universal wisdom it contained, was transmuted into new forms. After the fires, the flame of knowledge traveled. It lived in the mystery schools of the Middle East, in the alchemical manuscripts of medieval Europe, in the esoteric traditions of the East. The Hermetic teachings, Kabbalah, Sufism, and Gnostic Christianity all bear fragments of that once unified light. To the mystics, the library's fall was not a loss, but an initiation. Humanity was being tested to see whether it could rediscover within itself what had once been handed down by the gods. Because here is the great paradox. When knowledge is external, it can be burned. But when knowledge becomes internalized, when it becomes lived truth, no flame can touch it. The real library of Alexandria exists in the mind of the awakened human. Its shelves are not lined with scrolls, but with realizations. Its texts are written not in ink, but in experience. Every mystical revelation, every dream of higher consciousness, every question whispered to the stars, adds another scroll to that invisible library within. The ancients knew this. That is why they encoded their wisdom in symbols, myths, and sacred geometry, languages that could not be erased by fire or conquest. Perhaps that is why the destruction of the library feels so haunting to us even now. On some level, we sense that its ruins lie not only in Egypt, but within our collective psyche, a wound that reminds us of what happens when fear triumphs over wonder. But what if this ancient wound could be healed? What if the library could be rebuilt? Not in marble halls, but in human consciousness itself. Because the truth is, the real fire of Alexandria still burns, not as destruction, but as awakening. The fall of the Library of Alexandria was not the end of knowledge. It was the beginning of a deeper kind of search, because the true seeker doesn't just collect wisdom, they become it. When the external world burned, the ancient initiates turned inward. They began to reconstruct the sacred archives, not on parchment, but within consciousness itself. You can do the same. The first steps are not grand gestures, but subtle shifts, a quiet alignment of thought, attention, and vibration. Let's begin with the first principle. The mind is a temple and memory its sacred hall. Every insight, every act of awareness becomes a new scroll in your inner library. To rebuild what was lost, you must begin to treat every piece of knowledge as living, not static information, but a flame that must be tended. When you read a mystical text, meditate on its essence rather than its words. Ask yourself, what truth is hidden beneath this symbol? What energy does it awaken within me? This is how the outer wisdom transforms into inner gold, a process the alchemists called transmutation. Second, practice the discipline of silence. The Library of Alexandria was a sanctuary of soundless contemplation, where the mind could expand beyond the noise of the world. Each day, enter your own inner sanctuary, even for a few minutes, and listen. Truly listen. Beneath the surface thoughts, you will begin to hear the hum of the universe itself. That vibration, subtle, eternal, is the same current of knowledge that once flowed through the halls of Alexandria. Third, engage in the ritual of sacred curiosity. Knowledge is not static. It grows through questioning. Ask questions that open portals rather than close them. Instead of what is true, ask, what could this truth reveal if I saw it from another dimension? This is how you rediscover the infinite library, by realizing that wisdom is not owned, but continually revealed. Fourth, study across traditions. The wisdom of Alexandria was universal. It drew from Egypt, Greece, India, Persia, and beyond. Rebuild your inner library by weaving together diverse perspectives, science and mysticism, logic and intuition, the seen and the unseen. As you connect them, patterns begin to emerge. Sacred geometries of thought that awaken higher perception. And finally, the fifth key, embody what you learn. Knowledge without embodiment is ash. Knowledge lived becomes light. Each time you practice compassion, mindfulness, or self-awareness, you ignite one of the lost torches of the ancient world. You become, in a sense, a librarian of eternity, preserving the sacred fire not through books, but through your being. So the question is not how we lost the Library of Alexandria, but how we can keep it alive. Because every act of remembrance, every search for truth, every moment of self-realization is a reconstruction. The great library was never truly destroyed. It is waiting within you to open its doors once again. The story of the Library of Alexandria is not merely a tale of the past. It is the mirror of humanity's soul. Because the same forces that once set fire to its sacred halls still linger today: fear, ignorance, control, and the blindness of power. Yet so too does the same eternal flame that once illuminated its corridors, the flame of seeking, of wonder, of remembrance. You see, the library was never just stone and scrolls. It was consciousness itself, a vast field where divine knowledge and human curiosity met. When it was burned, humanity was forced to look inward, to rediscover the infinite within the finite. Every age since has been another attempt to rebuild it. Through philosophy, through science, through the yearning of the mystic and the questioning of the poet. And now, in this time of rediscovery, when ancient knowledge rises again from the ashes, the same choice stands before us. Do we remain asleep in the smoke of forgetting? Or do we awaken, remembering that every soul carries a fragment of the lost library, the spark of divine wisdom hidden beneath the dust of time? Perhaps the true purpose of its destruction was not loss, but transformation. For what is burned in the outer world is reborn in the inner. Just as the phoenix rises from its own ashes, so too does the wisdom of Alexandria rise within those who seek the truth with purity of heart. When you meditate, you walk again through its halls. When you study with reverence, you unroll its hidden scrolls. And when you choose love, awareness, and truth over fear, you light the torches of that ancient temple once more. The fire that consumed the library was never meant to end knowledge, only to test it. And now, you are part of its rebirth. Because the Library of Alexandria lives, not in ruins, not in history, but in you.